why I keep doing this. Hey, everybody. Hey, let me give you a round of applause for being here with me. So we're gonna I'm trying to get this thing focused. It's right now. It's oh, here it comes. It seems like it wants to focus right now. Okay. It was blurry for a minute. Let me take these off because I don't need them on. I do not need them on. So, how's everybody doing? Hope everybody had a nice holiday if they celebrate. I do not celebrate no holidays. None. I really don't. I'll cook on them, but I gave that up a long time ago. How's everybody doing? Hey, Lou. Hey, Cortez. Thank you. Bucky, Copper Aborigine. Hey, lady. Hey, hey, Copper. Could you come on the panel? Or no, Copper Engine, can you come on the panel? Yes or no? Because I got some really great slides, and this, is part of what I do research. Can you come on the panel if I put the link in the chat and accompany me? Somebody I could dialogue with. Let me give you the link. You don't have to turn your camera on. I know how Sundays be. But here's the link, sis. This would be lovely if you could come on. Just you. It's just there for you. If you could pop up, I won't even start the slides until you get up. If you could hit that link and come on up with me, that'll be cool. Let me know in the chat, Copper Aborigines, if you could come up. Oh, good. Awesome. Once you click the link, I'll let you on and then we'll get started with the slides. I got like probably 30 slides and I want to make my legal disclaimer because what I do is research, for publications of my newspaper. And this isn't information that I made up. It's information I analyzed and viewed, using public information that's out there for us to look at. And the really sad thing that continues on to today, we as a people, Indians, indigenous, however you want to call us. I'm speaking of mainland Indians within the boundaries of the United States. I am not talking about Central and South America. Those are not areas where my family originated from, but they are part of the Americas and they do have Indians in those areas. But I'm not speaking of those areas. I only speak on the research in my community as far as it pertains to my community here on the mainland where the United States sit. So I need to clarify that. All right. Oh, you got to allow it access. Copper. You got to allow it camera access and stuff like that. You know how that goes, girlfriend. So I'll wait until you reconnect your audio and let you up. And I just want to, put that disclaimer out there. This information presented here is for educational, historical, and journalistic purposes. It reflects independent research, public records, and my analysis as a publisher. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not trying to establish no attorney-client privilege. Let me just put my overlay up because I want to make for certain that this is Copper Aborigines because we get a lot of people that come up here and want to flash their private parts. Is that you, girlfriend?
It's me.
Okay, I'll take the overlay down. Got to protect my panel. Hey, mama.
I
How are
haven't I
you?
haven't done any flashing lately.
Oh, yeah. We don't want you to be flashing, girl. You know
No,
you can't be flashing.
no.
But anyway, I was just giving my disclaimer. Hey, Lady Libra, everybody in the chat, everybody watching, y'all smash the like button. We look like we got 580 something people watching, so that's great for me not to be on like I usually do. We usually have like 1,000 at least, but we'll get back there. It's because I took a pause and had to take care of some things. But I want to get into exactly copper original engine. What I mean, how have you been for the holidays first before I get into things?
It was okay. I didn't do like you said, I don't really celebrate holidays and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not my get on anymore. Once I started to understand what it was really about, I let all that go. Uh, you know, I actually started letting it go a long time ago, but with understanding, you have more clarity. So
Right.
I let that go a long time ago.
So it is what it is. So
Hmm.
today's segment is about American Indians or African descent. That's what it's all about. And if you notice on the left side, I have our American men. And then on the right side, I picked a couple of locations in Africa with pictures, visual pictures. And I can tell you the only similarity to me, this is my personal opinion, is the skin color.
That's it.
That's it. I believe, and I truly will stand on this, that our American men have very different features from
Hmm.
Africans.
Hmm.
And it's not, some of us are mixed, some of us are mulattoes, some of us um, actually do have features where we have more of our European features than our uh, indigenous Indian features. And that's a fact. Some of us come out with straight hair looking directly like Europeans,
Hmm.
and they are truly half uh mulattoes, half blood. Their mom could be white European and their dad could be Indian, or their vice versa. Their dad could be white European and their mom could be Indian. Bottom line, our men have distinct hairlines for the most part. If you look on the left, you see 50 Cent, you see Genuine up above him, you see Big Meech and Terry, you see the Jackson Five. They all have hairlines. Our men normally do not have receding hairlines, and Marcus Garvey does not have a hairline. Who is up at the top? He looks very much like the people he tried to represent, Africans. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying it to be very serious. Um, I must stress again, because people tend to take your lecturing out of context. I do not hate Africans. Okay. I don't know any Africans. I've never hated any Africans. It's not true. Just because I don't identify as them, it's because I'm not them. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that I dislike people who are African. It's just that's not who I am. So I want to get into um, reclassification and a lot of legal questions that I've asked, and I went out and did some like really heavy research. And I also studied the Dred Scott case, and the same thing that goes for way back then. We never had proper representation. That's why the system was able to do what it did to people, our people back then. First of
And
all,
still are doing.
today, correct. We don't have proper representation. For the most part, our people have been struggling with foreigners who become attorneys and sign up to the bar, descendants of immigrants are the attorney have been the attorneys for our people. Okay, we never have representation. If we don't represent ourselves, or there's someone of your culture that is truly you, and then you have those who are bound by restrictions in the bar association in different states, and it's really sad. It's really sad when it comes to our specific history. We do not and never did have proper representation. I mean, why, if you have to ask yourself, why would a descendant of an immigrant really truthfully represent you? What are the consequences if they do? What happens to them? Would they lose uh, uh, referrals and things of that. It's all kinds of stuff. You know how the system goes. But this is one of the main reasons why I have a newspaper, so I could keep the information in our community and help educate our people that have been indoctrinated to believe that there's someone who they're really not. And I think that's so important. We have to undo what was done to our people. Otherwise, they're going to go to their deathbeds thinking and believing that there's somebody who they're not, until they've done their genealogy and get to really understand why their ancestors were silenced, why the oral history was limitedly passed down, like in all of our families, instances across the 50 states. You're not African, you're Indian. And then they left it like that. That's terrible fear stemming down from way back when. Now, today it's very different because now they have laws where we can truly identify as who we are. But we've been in this system for so long, and I have I don't have a problem with the United States. I don't. And I don't think anybody does. The only time there's a problem is when you're harmed by the very people that are supposed to protect you and represent you. But other than that, I don't have a problem with the system. Okay. And I also need to mention that I love my country, America. I love the landmass that I'm on. I'm proud of being an American. I wouldn't give that identity up for anything in the world. I'm proud. For starters, anybody that wants to enhance their education, they come in my country to get that. We're not in the busloads going to other countries to gain and get education credentials. Every culture on this planet comes to America, my country. And I say that with pride and joy. So this is why I don't take trips to visit other countries. I don't want to. People tell me, "Oh, you don't know what you're missing." No, I don't care to go to other countries. My country is so big and beautiful. There's no reason for me to leave it. Seriously, I don't want to go to another country. I love it here, and I'm not going. I've never been on an airplane. I have no reason to go on one. I can drive. We can drive anywhere in these United States. We don't have to fly. Bottom line, I have no reason for a to go on an airplane. None. Now, if I want to get, from A to B, California to, quick, yeah, I'll take an airplane, I guess. But do I have any plans on going to California? No, I don't. I am truly in love with my own country, America. I'm sorry. But we're adults and we should think like adults. So I'm ready. You ready to get it in? I don't know why.
I'm ready.
Okay, so today we should put it up here. American Indian or African American? And this link, I'm going to give it to you. This is the entire Dred Scott case. I'll put this in the chat in a minute, but so you could read the entire case because we're going to go through the deceit and why. Hi, John. Hello, everyone. Hi, Big Dog. How are you? All right. And Lady Libra, I see all y'all out there. Love y'all, man. So let's get it in. Let's look at some interesting research that I pulled up. And we have this picture. We already went through this. We don't need to go. So, forced reclassification equals constitutional and human rights violations. The core principle. This is information that I found. Okay. I'm not an attorney and I have my disclaimer strolling across the bottom. And this will be the March newspaper. So we already have 3 newspapers already for 2026. I'm ahead of the game this year. Okay. And I know everybody's waiting. So, core principle, reclassifying a person's identity without their consent whether race, ethnicity, sex, or any protected characteristics, violates fundamental constitutional rights. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Me either. I went and found this. It echoes historical systems of control like the Racial Integrity Act and continues today through government and employer practices that override self identification. Did you know that? Did
Mm-mm.
anyone in the chat know this?
Wow. Damn.
Yeah, it's a lot. You
That
know
just
that.
messed me up, Bethany.
Yeah, it's true. For
What the
yeah,
hell?
it's a constitution. And we're gonna get where it is. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
It gets good. The
Damn.
14th Amendment, equal protection. Government imposed racial, ethnic, or sex classifications are suspect and often unconstitutional. Forced reclassification is a form of discrimination because it alters legal status and access to rights. Did you know that?
Whoa. Whoa. You might want to read that again for the people in the back.
14th Amendment. You want to help me read too?
Go on. I'm ready. I'm kind of stuck right now. You're
Okay, okay. I'll stretch my voice. 14th Amendment, equal protection. Government imposed racial, ethnic, or sex classifications are suspect and often unconstitutional. Forced reclassification is a form of discrimination because it alters legal status and access to rights.
Wait a
Hey,
minute.
Tone.
Wait a minute. So going back. Oh shit! That opens up a whole nother Pandora box, Bethany.
Yes, ma'am. Bethy, not Bethany.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Girl. Yeah. Understand. Mm. Goddamn.
Yes, ma'am. Should I keep going?
Yeah. Fuck me up.
Okay.
Oh,
I found all this. First Amendment,
shit.
compelled speech and identity. Self identification is expressive conduct.
Hmm.
Forcing someone to adopt or declare an identity they reject is compelled speech.
No shit.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Now, we have haters that will jump in the chat, but I welcome you because you help me get more clicks for my live. So your hate and negative comments really helps me. So keep up the great work. I know this hurts, but go find legal justifications for yourself.
No shit.
So privacy and right of publicity. Publicity. Identity is personal property. Misrepresenting. Oh, something's you're banging on your mic. Original ending. Irma. Irma, you're banging something on your mic.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had to fix it.
All right, I'll mute you for a minute. And then when you want to speak, just unmute. I hate
Okay.
unmute. All right, privacy and right of publicity. Identity is personal property. Misrepresenting or assigning someone's identity without consent violates privacy and the right to control one's own likeness and personal data. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
This is all public information. Civil rights protections. Federal and state laws prohibit discrimination based on race, sex, national origin, and other protected classes. Forced identity assignment is inherently discriminatory because it changes the category under which a person is treated. Did you know
Mm,
that?
no shit. Hmm.
International human rights. Treaties like the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child affirm the right to preserve one's identity. Forced reclassification violates global norms of dignity and autonomy. Did you know that?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Okay, let's get it. Examples of violations: Historical Racial Integrity Act. Government erased indigenous identity by reclassifying Native people as colored or Negro. The purpose was to eliminate tribal status, land rights, and sovereignty.
Mm.
Modern forced ethnic gender labeling. EEOC allows employers to assign race ethnicity by visual observation if an employee declines to self identify.
Mm.
This practice is increasingly challenged as compelled identity and compelled speech. Modern representation, misrepresentation in public records. States restricting gender marker updates or creating lists of people who change them raise privacy, safety, and compelled identity concerns. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Bottom line, forcing an identity onto someone strips them of anonymity, dignity, and legal protection, making it not just discriminatory, but a profound constitutional and human rights violation. So, this is what Obama did as president of the United States. HR 4238, modernizing racial terminology in federal law. Public Law 114-157, signed May 20th, 2016. Could you imagine how some 80-year-olds feel what he did? How are you going to change an 80-year-old's identity in 2016?
Yeah. After all the
What the
bullshit.
bill does, yeah, what this bill did was remove racially outdated and offensive terms, including Negro or Oriental, from federal statutes and replaces them with modern, respectful terminology. The bill updates definitions of minority into two federal laws from the 1970s. The Department of Energy Organization Act, the Local Public Works, Capital Development and Investment Act of 1976. Why this bill was needed. Many older federal laws still contain terminology from the mid 20th century, language that no longer reflects dignity, accuracy, or how communities self identify. Examples of outdated terms removed: Negro, Oriental, Eskimo, and Aleut. These terms were replaced with modern identifiers such as African American, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander, Alaska Native, and Native American. So here's the funky part. Let's just keep going because as you see what he did, and he was not supposed to do that. But let's keep going. Discussion key points. This was a bipartisan in this Obama thing. This was a bipartisan, unanimous effort. The House passed it 376-0, and the Senate passed it by unanimous consent.
I
It
didn't
was
vote
about,
on that. I didn't vote on that.
well, these are the House of Representatives. Your representatives.
Hmm.
It was about dignity and accuracy. The
Dignity.
bill modernized federal language to reflect how communities identify themselves today. It corrected terminology that had roots in racial hierarchy. Words like Oriental were tied to exoticism and stereotypes. Negro had become outdated and offensive. It did not change rights or benefits, it changed the language of the law. This was a symbolic and cultural correction, not a structural policy change.
Mm.
H.R. 423 modernized federal law by removing outdated racial terms such as we know that already. Okay, so articulate historical errors. While modern laws have removed outdated racial terms, they do not address the deeper historical violation, the forced reclassification of indigenous people who refused removal in the 1830s. Listen up, y'all. The government changed the words, but not the harm.
Mm. Wow.
You got a little noise in there coming in the back. The descendants of those reclassified tribes still carry the legal and cultural consequences today. The key point is this: updating racial terminology in federal law did not fix the deeper historical harm.
Nope. Sure didn't.
Right. The forced reclassification of indigenous people who refused removal in the 1830s. This is a legitimate historical argument. Why modern terminology changes do not address historical reclassification violations. The United States government had long history of forced identity reclassification. After the Indian Removal Act of 1830, many indigenous people who refused relocating reclassified as Negro, colored, or free persons of color. This was not accidental. It was legal strategy to erase the sovereignty and land rights,
Mm-hmm.
political status. These reclassification violated core principle identity and sovereignty. Indigenous identity is a political and cultural status, not a racial label. Reclassifying Native people to black stripped them of those rights, land claims, and recognition.
Wow.
Modern language updates do address the historic violations. HR 4238 removed outdated clear racial from federal statutes. It did not restore the identities of indigenous people who were reclassified in the 1800s. It did not correct the legal erasure of Eastern tribes who remained on homelands. Let me just pull this up over here so I can read because I'm on slide 17. Let's put my slide over here.
Hey, copy Aboriginal.
I want to go right here, 17. Let's go down to 17 where I can read it better. Yeah. So, uh, why modern terminology changes do not address historical reclassification violations? Modern language updates do not address these historical violations. HR 4238 removed outdated racial terms from federal statutes, but it did not restore the identities of indigenous people who were reclassified in the 1800s. It did not correct the legal erasure of Eastern tribes who remained on their homelands. The government still has not reversed the original harm. The descendants of those reclassified people still live with the consequences: loss of tribal status, loss of land, loss of recognition, misidentification in census and legal records. Updating terminology does not repair the underlying justice.
Mm, mm.
So let's keep going.
Lord is be Miss Mary.
So now let's dive into this a little bit. Hey, Copper Aborigines. Hey, none of your business. So now, Indian Removal Act of 1830. And that was President Andrew Jackson. He was the seventh president, and he was president from March 4th, 1829 to March 4th, 1837. This act, signed by President Andrew Jackson, authorized the president to negotiate treaties with Indian tribes for their removal from lands east of the Mississippi River to territory in the west. A key condition presented to the Indians was the choice to either relocate to the designated Indian territory, primarily present-day Oklahoma, or remain in the East and become citizens of their state of residence, thereby subjecting themselves to state laws and relinquishing their tribal sovereignty.
Mm, mm, mm.
Jackson's administration viewed the removal policy as a benevolent way to save Indians from conflict with white settlers and enable new states to expand.
Sure
Though
they.
though critics at the time and historians since have described the policy as paternalistic and a form of ethnic cleansing.
Mm,
The removal was intended to be voluntary, but ultimately led to the forced displacement of tens of thousands of Indians, most notably the Cherokee during the tragic Trail of Tears. So, not just 5,000s, not just tens of thousands of Indians, okay?
yeah, probably more than that.
So now, when we're talking in 1830, when there was no other race of people over here, let me take this down for 1 second. We're talking in 1830, when in 1830 there was no other race of people here with brown skin but us, okay, and white settlers from Europe. That was it. That was here.
Mm-hmm.
There's you don't hear a mentioning of Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Jamaicans,
Mm-mm.
Haitians. None of these other race of people were here but us and white settlers. This is why I say you have to be careful. Chinese people did not come on the census until 1890 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in 1830. This is Andrew Jackson, the seventh president of the United States.
Hmm.
Okay? It was just us and them here. So when you get people like Not a Coincidence and YK and all those other pan boo-boos, you sit them back and tell them, okay, let's think logically. Who was here? The whole object was to say, you ain't the Indian no more. And you're going to see clearly how it's done professionally.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it. The Indian Removal Act explicitly created two-track system. A key condition, y'all, presented to the Indian was the choice to either relocate to the designated Indian territory or remain in the East and become citizens of their state of residence, thereby subjecting themselves to state laws and relinquishing their tribal sovereignty. So if you was on a land of 200 acres under the tribe, that was relinquished. You were now a citizen, not a sovereign tribe or sitting on 200 acres of land. You need to understand this. And the only people in the South were people that look like me and you, sitting on acres. There was no Chinese, no Mexicans, no Puerto Ricans. We're talking 1830. They did not exist here. It is the legal mechanism that allows the United States government to strip indigenous people of tribal sovereignty, dissolve their political status, and reclassify them under, listen, y'all, state racial laws. State racial laws. So if you were in a state, whatever they reclassified you as, that's who you were. This is not the root of, this is the root of the reclassification. State citizenship was not a benefit, it was a trap. When indigenous people stayed in the East, they were no longer recognized as members of sovereign nations. They were absorbed into state racial codes. Those codes classified people by skin color, not tribal identity. This is how thousands of Indians became labeled free persons of color, colored, mulatto, Negro. And we see these identities on our ancestors' records, federal records, and state records. Not because they were those things, but because the law forced them into those categories. Once sovereignty was stripped, this was the mechanism of erasure. The choice was not real. The law framed it as voluntary. Relocate to Indian territory or stay and become a state citizen. But in reality, treaties were coerced, removals were violent, and state citizenship meant forced assimilation into racial hierarchies. Historians now call this what it was, a form of ethnic cleansing and political erasure. The undeniable points. Modern terminology changes do not repair this original violation. HR 4238 in 2016 removed offensive words like Negro and Oriental. We all know this already. But it did not restore the tribal status of those who were reclassified in the 1800s. See, this HR came out with Obama in 2016. But what it did not do, it didn't read that, what Obama passed, it did not restore the tribal status of those who were reclassified in the 1800s. That was us. It didn't do anything for us.
It didn't do a damn thing.
It correct racial labels imposed on Eastern tribes or address legal erasure created by the Indian Removal Act's state citizenship clause. Our proof shows that the original harm was structural, not linguistic. Changing the words in 2016 does not undo the forced reclassification that began in 1830. Understand that, y'all. The original reclassification crime, Indian Removal Act of 1830. The Indian Removal Act forced indigenous people who stayed in the East to become state citizens, stripping them of sovereignty and subjecting them to racial classification laws. This caused? Loss of tribal status, forced assimilation, reclassification as colored, Negro, or free persons of color, erasure of indigenous identity, and census and legal records. Why this matters today. Modern terminology updates like HR 4238 do not address or repair the original legal erasure created by the 1830 Act. Why were federal courts established? So we're moving into all this, y'all. And I want you to pay attention. So now, federal courts were established in 1789. The federal court system was established by the United States Constitution. Okay? We're talking federal level now. Article 3. And further organized by the Judiciary Act of 1789 to create an independent judicial branch, erasure, uniform interpretation of federal laws, provide a check on the legislative and executive powers, and enforce national laws across states, preventing state level obstruction and ensuring a unified system of justice for the new republic. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
That's why they were established. Preventing, you got to listen to the key words. One of the main things that stuck out to me, preventing state level obstruction. And when you reclassify people to beings that they are not, that is state level obstruction.
Yes, it is.
And you would have to go to federal court for justice. Do you understand? This is information that's out, public information. I'm not an attorney, but I'm telling you, I'm reading this information that I pulled up. That's why the federal courts were established, to prevent state level obstruction and ensuring a unified system of justice for the new republic. Key reasons for establishment: constitutional mandate. Article 3 of the Constitution created the Supreme Court and authorized Congress to establish lower federal courts, outlining the judicial branch's role in administering justice. Checks and balances. Framers like Alexander Hamilton saw courts as an essential intermediate body to ensure the legislature and executive stayed within their constitutional rights, protecting the people's rights. National unity and enforcement. A federal court system was needed to apply federal law consistently, preventing individual states from undermining national policies or thwarting the new government's authority. Interpreting federal law. It provided a venue for resolving disputes involving federal laws, treaties, and the Constitution, ensuring uniform understanding and application. Judicial independence, establishing a separate co-equal branch, ensured justice would be independent, not beholden to political pressure from other branches or state interests, upholding the rule of law. When we talk state courts versus federal court, whole new ball game. Federal courts were established for the individual people. That's a fact. Federal courts were established because the framers knew that the states wasn't going to be good to its slaves. Its people. No matter what your damn race is. They knew that the states was going to impose all kinds of shit on their people. And will always twist and undermine what the U.S. Constitution meant. This is why they're not the interpreters of federal law. And we have federal judges to protect the individual citizens. Come on, let's go. So now, let's break this down, y'all, with Dred Scott. We're going through these really fast. And I asked myself this question. And this is going to freak you out, original. And this is what happens when you research. You know, we have way more things to do in life where we could correct old issues that never been corrected. Did Dred Scott state that he was a Negro of African descent? I read that whole case, and I'm going to give it to you in the chat. The exact wording does appear in the Dred Scott case record, but it was not written by Dred Scott. It was written by the defendant in a plea in abatement, trying to block Scott from suing. Listen again, y'all. The question was, did Dred Scott state that he was a Negro of African descent? Now, the wording, those exact wordings appear in the Dred Scott case record, but it was not written by Dred Scott. It was written by the defendant in a plea in abatement trying to block Scott from suing.
Dirty, dirty, dirty.
See, Dred Scott didn't say, I'm African American or I'm African, a Negro of African descent. He did not say that. It was the defendants who said that in their pleading. Here is the verbatim line, exactly as it appears in the official case record. And I'm going to put the whole case record in there. It's 50 pages long. Single space. Being a Negro of African descent whose ancestors were of pure African blood and who were brought into this country and sold as slaves. Dred Scott didn't say that. That was the defendant who said that and provided no proof. The defendant said that he was of pure African blood. That was the defendant saying that, not Dred Scott.
Oh, wow.
This line comes directly from the defendant's filing in Dred Scott versus Sanford, as documented in the Supreme Court. Dred Scott didn't say that. It's the defendants. Huh?
Isn't that case still open?
You know what? He died. I don't know. I don't believe it is. No, it's closed. And he died being a slave and not allowed. Now we're gonna get a little bit more into this because what you're reading, he didn't say that himself. It was the defendants fighting, saying he's an African of African descent. And again, this line comes directly from the defendant's filing, not Dred Scott, as documented in the Supreme Court. Did Dred Scott state that he was a Negro of African descent? No. The statement about African descent came from the defendant John F. A. Sanford, not Scott.
Oh, wow.
Why did the defendant write that? To argue Scott was not a citizen and had no right to sue. Because back then, I'll just keep going. I don't want to put words in your. I want you to hear this, and you guys can read the case. What does this prove? Courts used forced racial classification as a legal weapon, just as states did to indigenous people who stayed in the East after 1830. Defendant John F. A. Sanford, he was the brother of Irene Emerson, the woman who claimed ownership of Dred Scott. When Irene remarried and moved, her brother John F. A. Sanford took over the legal defense of the case. He lived in New York, which is why the case qualified for federal jurisdiction, diversity of citizenship. Why this matters: the racial description, a Negro of African descent, pure African blood, brought here and sold as slaves, was written by Sanford's legal team, not by Dred Scott. It was a strategic legal move to argue Scott was not a citizen. Scott had no standing. Scott could not sue in federal court. This is an example of forced legal identity assignment, not self-identification. Let's keep going. Source confirmation. The quote appears in the official case summary from the University of Missouri Kansas City School of Law, which reproduces the Supreme Court's own language. The defendant, not Scott. The defendant argued that Scott was a Negro of African descent whose ancestors were of pure African blood and who were brought into this country and sold as slaves. He provided no proof or anything. Now, here's an important clarification, y'all. You got to understand this. Dred Scott did not write this. He did not acknowledge this about himself. This was the defendant's argument used to claim Scott was not a citizen and therefore could not sue in federal court, because at that time, we weren't citizens. But he wasn't no African. The question, this is Chief Justice Roger B. Taney, in this case, one of the Chief Justices. The question of this racial background was central to the Supreme Court's ruling, in which Chief Justice Roger B. Taney infamously declared that people of African descent, whether enslaved or free, were not considered citizens and therefore had no right to sue in federal court. The legal arguments and evidence submitted focused exclusively on his African ancestry and his status as a slave or a free black person under various state and federal laws. Why this matters: this line is not evidence of Scott's identity. It is evidence of how the court and the defendant racialized him to deny him standing. It shows how courts impose racial identity, how legal pleadings weaponized racial classification, how identity was used as a tool of exclusion, how African descent was a legal argument, not a self-identification. This fits into our broader argument about forced classification and how the government has historically imposed identities on people for legal and political purposes. Self identification versus court imposed identity or legal racialization as a tool of exclusion. The journey of Dred Scott's case, State of Missouri Court. Scott first sued for freedom in 1846 in the St. Louis Circuit Court, winning freedom in a retrial in 1850. But the Missouri Supreme Court reversed this in 1852, declaring him enslaved. Federal Court, U.S. Circuit Court. Scott filed a new suit in federal court claiming residency in free territories made him free. The United States Circuit Court of Missouri upheld the state's decision in 1854, leaving the Supreme Court as his final option. United States Supreme Court at the federal level, the case ultimately reached the highest federal court, where Chief Justice Roger B. Taney's majority opinion in 1857 denied citizenship to Black people and struck down the Missouri Compromise, escalating national tensions over slavery. Listen, y'all. Listen, this is where I want you to pay very close attention to. Did Andrew Jackson make indigenous people citizens in the way we think of citizenship today? So now you remember when Andrew Jackson told the Indians if they didn't go to Oklahoma, you become citizens of the state where you reside, right? Give me a 1 if you remember that. All right. No, Andrew Jackson did not make indigenous people citizens in the way we think of citizenship today. What he did was far more damaging. The Indian Removal Act did create a state citizenship track, but it was not real citizenship. Listen, y'all. The act said if an indigenous person refused removal and stayed in their home state, they would become citizens of that state. This was not U.S. citizenship. Y'all listening? It wasn't United States citizenship. It was state citizenship. When he did that, when Andrew Jackson said if indigenous person refused removal and stayed in their home state, they would become a citizen of that state. However, this was not United States citizenship. This was not constitutional protection. This was not recognition. It was a legal downgrade. It meant they lost tribal sovereignty. They lost treaty protections. They lost federal recognition. They became subject to state racial laws. They were reclassified under state color codes, colored, mulatto, Negro, etc. This is the mechanism that erased Eastern tribes. Let's get it. State citizenship in 1830 had no rights attached. No rights attached. This is the part that shocks people. In 1830, there was no 14th Amendment. There was no birthright citizenship. There was no equal protection. States could define race however they wanted. State could deny rights to anyone they label colored. So when Jackson said indigenous people who stayed would become citizens of their state, he was really saying, you will no longer be an Indian. You will be whatever racial category the state assigns you. That is forced reclassification. That's forced reclassification. Understand it. States immediately reclassified indigenous people into racial categories. Once indigenous people lost federal tribal status, states absorbed them into their racial caste systems. Depending on the state, they were labeled free colored person, free person of color, colored, mulatto, Negro, black. This was not based on ancestry. It was based on state law, skin tone, and political convenience. This is why so many Eastern tribes disappeared from the records, not because they vanished, but because the law renamed them. I'm telling y'all, this was not based on ancestry. It was based on state law, skin tone, and political convenience. This is why so many Eastern tribes disappeared from the records. Because they vanished. Not because they vanished, no. But because the law renamed them. You hear me, Copper Aborigine? Your mic is muted, girly. Original Engine, your mic muted.
My bad. I'm over here just talking. Yes, I hear you. I understand.
I'm like, none of this reclassification was based on ancestry. They didn't disappear and vanish. It's because the law renamed them.
Mm-hmm.
These are individual states. And the only way you can get this corrected is when you go to federal court and correct it. Because this is why the federal courts were established, for obstruction of state. That's obstruction of justice.
All day long. All day long.
Let's go. Andrew Jackson's policy was not about giving rights. It was about erasing nations. I'm going to read it again.
Please.
Andrew Jackson's policy was not about giving rights. It was about erasing nations. The state citizenship clause was a tool to dissolve tribal governments, eliminate treaty obligations, remove federal responsibility,
Mhm.
erase indigenous identity on paper,
Mhm.
force Native people into racial categories that strip them of land and sovereignty.
Mhm.
The United States government forced indigenous people into racial categories long before 2016 terminology update.
Exactly. Copper Aborigine. Exactly.
And that's a fact. Andrew Jackson's policy was not about giving rights, it was about erasing nations. He
Wait, hold up.
stripped,
Hold up. Hold up. At John Davis 8078, they didn't play just us, baby. They played a whole bunch of people, including whoever you are. You got played right along with us. So don't think your group of people did not get included in being played. You got played too.
Andrew Jackson's policy was not about giving rights, it was about erasing nations. He stripped them of tribal sovereignty and forced them into state racial classifications. What state citizenship meant in 1830? No federal protection, no constitutional rights, no recognition as indigenous, subject to state racial laws, reclassified as colored, Negro, mulatto, etc. Why this matters? This is the root of forced reclassification that erased Eastern tribes from federal records. And modern terminology changes do not repair that original harm. You have to repair it. Andrew Jackson never submitted proof or anything, even to the individual states. They never submitted anything because they didn't have to, because they had their own constitutions and they had their own laws. But it is up to you to go get it corrected, the obstruction corrected. You have to. Now, Obama, he is an African American, but he doesn't have an authority to tell you who you are. You have to go get that obstruction fixed in federal court, the court created for individual protections.
Mm-hmm. Your mic.
Oh, I'm not talking. I'm just I'm just sitting here thinking. There was no such thing as real citizenship for indigenous people in 1830. It was a legal illusion, a mechanism for erasure. And
Mm-hmm.
the moment you wake up and see this, the whole system snaps into focus. The whole system snaps into focus. It wasn't sloppy. It wasn't accidental. It was engineered.
Mm.
We are not just uncovering history here, we are exposing the architecture of how identity was weaponized.
Yeah.
And that, my friends, is the end of my slides. So, what I want to do is put that whole case in the chat. Let me just get that up really quickly because I want to put that link in the chat. Oh, I thought this was it. Oh, here it is.
Can
Oh,
you allow Copper Aborigine to come up? I think he has something he wants to say.
yeah, give me a minute. Let me just put this link. This is the Dred Scott case, you guys, where I pulled all this information from, and you should be able to read it. Let me just take this down. There we go. Let me just put this in the chat. So there.
Mm.
So there's the link to the Dred Scott case where I got this information from, and you
Wow.
should read it and read it and read so read it and read it and read it.
Mm. Man, oh man.
And so
If just
the more
reading
you read, the more it's exposed. It's like it was the defendant's word against his. They
yeah.
they didn't produce any documents or anything, and I'm like, wow, what poor representation our people had, because they're supposed to present the evidence that this man came off a slave ship, his family came off a slave ship, and that they purchased. You can't, and it's like, wow, they actually in 1830, because they weren't United States citizens, they were state citizens. There's a big difference. With being a United States citizen, you have those protections. But back then, there wasn't even, they were not United States citizen. They were a specific state. Wherever they were was the citizen type of citizenship they have from a state, not from on the federal level. They had the no federal protections. We have federal protections. We are birthright in their system. Back then, it was no. And that's why that federal judge ruled the way he did, because Dred Scott was not a citizen. He was a citizen in a state wherever he was at. But difference between a United States citizen. When you're a United States citizen, you have protections. When you're not one, you don't have those protections. And the state can label you anything they want to. Yeah, I mean, if the state wanted to, they could have said the monkey people. That would have
Mm.
been your identity in that state, because the state could do that. You weren't a citizen. So now, when you became a citizen, how did you become a citizen? Is the question. To get equal protected rights. When those rights became available in the Constitution. So let me put the link in the chat for Copper. His mic never works right, but we're going to give it a try. And the panel is open. I don't have the type of controversy that Smoke has. You can't do that up here. But there's the link, Copper Aborigines. But
Some things just leave you kind of speechless. It's like to know that people have this kind of malice and greed in their hearts. Ugh.
yeah, because the whole misunderstanding was they weren't just saying that to be funny. He literally was not a federal level citizen. There is a difference between a federal level citizen and
So
state
then
level.
what? Then how? Somehow he must have had the power or knew someone. He had to have some kind of connection to be able to make that kind of a to get on the record to even be allowed to do that. He had to have had something or someone, should I say, that would allow him to do that, or was it just his race that allowed him to have that much power to do that?
Let me put my overlay up, and I'm gonna answer that because there's a real reason. Let me see. Why won't this show? I'm coming, Capra Aborigines. Give me a minute, hun. I don't understand why this is not showing. Um, I don't know why this ain't showing. Hold up, y'all.
Was he backed by someone?
Was he what?
Was he backed by another group that allowed him to do that, or was he in a federal or state position to do that?
Is that you, Capra Aborigine?
Nope.
Oh, okay. I wanted to make sure it was you.
Oh, it's me.
Cap. Oh, huh?
No, it's me. I thought you was talking
Okay.
about that noise back there. Mm-mm.
No, no, no. That's Irma. I don't know what she's doing. She must
I'm
be
not doing
eating
anything.
something. I don't know what that noise is. I don't understand. Where is my stuff at here? Okay, that's private chat. I don't know what happened to the damn background.
How you doing, Copper?
Hey, I'm doing all right,
What's
sister. How
going
about you
on?
doing?
I'm doing good, doing good.
Y'all were holding it down.
Mhm. How was your holiday?
Man,
I was okay. How about you alls?
I didn't do
I
much.
don't celebrate him. I just laid up.
Yeah, that's what we're
Seriously,
talking
I ain't
about.
do anything. Just laid back and relaxed.
Just
Yeah.
enjoy
Little.
the day. Just
Yeah.
enjoy the day being off. 2 days rather.
Hmm.
Well, I wasn't off the day after I worked. I actually worked Friday.
You worked
Yeah,
yesterday?
Friday. Yeah, Friday. Now,
Okay.
I don't
Yeah,
work on the
Friday.
weekend.
Friday. Yeah.
Friday. Yeah, I worked
Well,
the day after. I actually probably was the only one that worked because everybody else was out. It was just me.
oh, I thought maybe you might have not worked on the 24th and the 25th.
No, I
Like,
worked both. I
oh, okay.
worked on the 24th and Friday I worked. Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
So yeah, I was getting into how in 1830. Now you know, and this case was in 1850s. 1850s.
Yeah, the Dred
He
Scott
wasn't.
case.
Yeah, he wasn't a U.S. citizen. A United States citizen has protection.
Right. Remember where he came from first. He came from one of the slave states, and he
Hmm.
was with some other people who had went over to what we call today the state of Missouri, which was not a state; it was just a territory.
Hmm.
So the people that was with him filed that case with the Supreme Court. The people who wanted him back into the South are the ones that filed that case to have him returned. And that's why it's written in that case that they called him an African or whatever they called him back then. But
Negro
he
of
was,
African descent is
yeah,
what
that's
was
it.
in the transcript.
Right. That's what the transcript says. But there's got to be other transcripts other than those because of the original ones that was filed before that one.
Right.
Wonder, well, I wonder if those cases said that Dred Scott was a African, and I bet it don't. And I'm gonna tell you something. If you look at the case close enough, this case ain't what y'all think it is. You got to consider the people who were going against him and anybody else that was of the Indian descent that got caught up in the South, who were um, called enslaved, then labeled African. There wasn't no Africans in here, not in 1850.
Mm-mm.
Correct.
I don't care who says what until you all can pull up the proof that there were Africans in here in 1850. I
Absolutely
can
not.
I could show you that there wasn't.
Nope, it wasn't.
Just like somebody in the chat, I couldn't help but laugh.
That's
They
all
said,
you do. But they're helpful to our chat room. My daughter told me that. She said, "Ma, don't delete them. Let them be delirious."
yeah, the individual said that they had Native American ancestry, and I had to break out laughing because I know if you if you got Native American ancestry, that means you Mongolian or Siberian. Them the only two you can be.
That's it. Can't be nothing else.
No, and I don't know why people come in this chat saying stuff like that, thinking we don't know this stuff.
Facts.
Yeah, I done
Well,
my.
back then, also have to remember that on an individual basis, our people did not understand um, the uh, legal system as we do today.
No,
We
that's a
we
fact.
we've gained more rights. We've gained our rights, and we are allowed to study and understand the system better. That's why we always have they have attorneys for representation, but our attorneys really gonna represent you in the manner in which you need. They're on
No,
code and they can't cross those bar oaths.
nope, they sure can't. That's why if you read in the Constitution closely, and this is why I'm so adamant about this.
I'll be back, y'all.
Okay, this is why I'm so adamant about this. Is when you read the Constitution, the word attorney nor lawyer is written on that document. It says counsel.
Mm.
And why people aren't catching on to that, I don't get it. It doesn't say uh jury trial. It says trial by jury. Those are three words, not two. You see the difference? Does people know the difference between an attorney, a lawyer, and counsel? Because those are three
Probably
different.
not a lot. Probably not. More than likely not, because you got to understand we don't study every trade. Not everybody's an attorney. That's why we have attorneys to represent us when it comes to legal matters. You could
Okay,
be a
check this out.
plumber. You could be a plumber or a I want to say an accountant, but that doesn't mean that you're skillful in the
Okay,
legal, aspects.
let me
So,
help you out with this. Let me help you out with it since I do know. Um, if you have a lawyer, let's say you're a lawyer in Connecticut, right?
mhm,
I can't call you.
which I'm not.
No, I know. I'm just using it as an example so people understand. Um, you're a lawyer in Connecticut. I'm a I'm somebody who needs a lawyer, right? So somebody recommends you to me. Well,
Mhm.
I know uh, in this case, lawyers that are in every state cannot cross the state line to defend an individual in another state. But
Well,
an
if
attorney, but an attorney can do that, and there's a reason for that. See, lawyers work for the state. Attorneys are bar. They are esquires. That's the difference. But a counsel, if I took you on as counsel, yes, you can. Anywhere. As long as you're counsel, not an attorney and not a lawyer. Anybody can look this up if you got a law dictionary. Look those three words up and learn the difference in the three. It tells you right there. Just like what she was explaining. One being a carpenter and the other one being a plumber. It's the same thing.
okay, it says here, it said, I asked, I just quickly Googled and asked, and it says there is a difference, but it's subtle, meaning sneaky. And most people, even in the legal world, mix these terms up.
Yep.
And it says a lawyer is anyone who has gone to law school and earned a law degree. They may be licensed to practice law or they may not be licensed yet. The word describes education, not permission to practice. So someone who graduated law school but doesn't pass the bar is still a lawyer but not an attorney. An
Exactly.
attorney, an attorney, um, short for attorney at law, is a lawyer who is licensed by a state bar, authorized to practice law, allowed to present clients in court, and bound by professional ethics rules. Even attorney is a lawyer. Not every lawyer is an attorney.
Exactly.
Counsel
Here we go.
is a role or title, not a qualification. It
Mhm.
can mean legal advisor, general counsel, corporate counsel, attorney representing someone in the case, counsel for the plaintiff, a
Exactly.
lawyer working inside an organization. It's more flexible and often used in professional settings. So, lawyer meaning someone with a law degree, key point, education only. Attorney is a licensed lawyer who can practice law, but they must pass the bar. Counsel, a legal advisor or attorney in a specific role, a job title, not a qualification. All right. So there is a difference. So there is a difference. So, like I was saying, it's important to have attorneys represent you if you don't understand the legal system.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes our people don't. And it's not just because we're brown people, it's just something that we don't understand,
Mm-hmm.
fully understand. You could be a baker, you could be a banker, you can be any job, you can have any job in a working blue collar field. But if you're not an attorney, you don't understand it. So it doesn't matter if you could be president of the ABC Association, but that just because you're the president of an ABC association does not mean you clearly understand how to interpret and
The
how to
law.
fight for justice in a federal or state court.
That's correct.
And obviously, um, Dred Scott was not a person who could represent himself because he doesn't understand the legal system and he didn't have proper representation. Because if he had proper representation, I I don't understand why he did have an attorney represent him. But my question is, why didn't an attorney ask the defendants, please provide the proof and paperwork where Mr. Dred Scott's family came off a slave ship and was sold into slavery? Where's the paperwork? You're not doing nothing for me without proof.
I
So
would I would agree, but in that day,
where's the paperwork? I mean, eh, that's all hearsay. We hear about
yep.
these slave ship, but nobody can confirm them.
Some of these people out here right now saying they got the slave records. Huh?
Oh, that's hilarious.
Nobody got no damn slave records.
They don't
They
have
never think,
a bill of sale or anything. These are things that representing licensed practicing attorneys will do, from what I know about the law. So
Mm-hmm.
when you hear them say, because there were no Africans here in 1850s, and they totally ignore, okay, who is all these brown people that were, identified by the color of their skin. They forget that there were thousands of Indians across the 50 states who
Mm-hmm.
were
Millions.
labeled as colored, Negro,
Mm-hmm.
black. All right. And we literally have this information on our birth certificates. That's
Mm-hmm.
your
Yep.
proof. There is not a
Sure is.
But
Nigerian, there's not a Nigerian, Igbo, all those parts of Africa. None
even more than
of
that,
them. But I'm just saying, they
even
don't have Negro, colored, and black on their birth certificates, death certificates. That's just the Indians that were classified. Nigerians, Ghana, Somalians, none of them have Negro on their birth certificates by the United States. But
Not
the
one of them.
Indians that were reclassified into those categories.
look,
Drug at it.
listen. I had conversations with family members as a little girl who told me about them being Indians on a reservation. I've had personal one-on-one conversations
Just
with
like Maria.
my auntie about her being where she was and how they lived as Indians. My life was saved because of something that she learned from her ancestors as being an Indian. So, well, now I don't know if I can't even remember if she identified herself as an Indian, but she identified her living on the reservation. She was as brown as you and I are. So when when they come to us and try to say we are not this and not that or the third, I know for sure of the conversations that I had with my ancestors, with my mother, with my auntie that was her. So they can keep that BS all day long. I know who I am.
Let me say this to add on to that. Y'all ever notice that all of these folk, I want y'all in the chat to think about this too. You ever notice that everybody who is not of this land are the ones who are so quick to tell you who you are not?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
that right
because
there.
that's because they were miseducated, just like our people were indoctrinated.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
you're always going to get descendants from immigrants to tell you this because this is what they're told.
And
yeah, but
that's why I say they've been lied to and tricked, just like we were.
not
Correct.
like we were, not like we were, because they didn't lose their identity. We
They-
lost our identity. So not like we are.
well, if
So
they're coming over pretending to be something that they are not, they lost their identity.
well, I haven't met none of them yet like that, but this is what I have gathered over my years of in these kind of discussions with the mother folks
Mm-hmm.
is when if you say to let's just use this as an example. You know this guy or this woman is from Asia, but you slip up and call him a Chinaman. He quick to correct you on there, tell you he's from where? Taiwan or Japan or something like that, right? Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Okay, so when we turn around and they ask you about you, who are you? And you got some of us that sit there, and I hate to be disrespectful to many of you in the chat, but this is where a lot of them present themselves. They go to skinning and grinning, and then they'll say, well, yeah, I'm black. My ancestors were brought over here from Africa. It's just instead of just saying, well, look, my ancestors are Americans.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
it's really just that simple.
I always, stated that and make that very clear because what we do have to understand, just like you said, and I always use that as an example too, when you say Asians, you got to be careful because not everybody that's Asian is Chinese. Not
Exactly.
everybody that's Asian is Japanese. And
Exactly.
You got Vietnamese, you got what's the other
Cambodian.
one? Yeah, they're Asians, but they're different. And same thing with white people. A lot of them white people are upset. They don't like that racial classification either. Because
Yeah, but
just because somebody's European, all right, white, doesn't mean they're all Irish or they're
but,
all German or they're all French or they're all Russian. They're just like you have different just because they have the same skin color don't mean they're the same people
but
because
they
they're not.
never,
And then
but
you
they
have
never,
Polish, you have all different kind of Europeans. You have
but Sister
Portuguese,
Bethany, they
but
don't
they're not.
correct us. They don't correct us on that like that. I get what you're saying. But when you run across one of them, their whole system is built on white.
But it depends on no, it depends on who you're talking to too. Just like we have arrogant people in our race, we have arrogant white people, we have arrogant people in every race of people. So all we have to do is tell them. I mean, they stand to be corrected. And a lot of people who come to you and say, "Oh, the African American girl," they stand corrected. So I mean, it's all in the way on how your attitude is to correct it. You don't have to say it in a mean, this arrogant way.
No, you don't.
You can say, "Oh, people would say, well, Sister Betty is a good looking African American girl." And I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not African American. I'm American Indian. I'm, you know, just like with brown people, just because we all have brown skin and we come from different shades, don't mean that we all come from Africa. No, all of us don't.
No, we don't.
Uh,
Exactly.
uh, I'm not African just because I have brown skin and I'm not a descendant. Another thing, I'm not, you don't allow somebody to walk up to you, oh, you're a descendant of slaves. No, I'm not. Here's the funny part, I can't fight for being a descendant of slave because I don't have slavery in my family were free people on their own farm. So I don't come from a history of slavery just because I have brown skin. I come
Uh,
from a history of where my family decided not to go to Oklahoma because they was not going, and they stayed in their state of residence, and they became these coloreds, Negroes, and blacks on census sheets
Hmm.
hey, Sister
when they
Bethany,
were
can I say
stripped
something?
of their tribal. So when we speak to people, we don't have to be arrogant because they're only going by what they were taught. And it's up to you to humbly and professionally correct them because they don't mean harm when they say, oh, you're African. No, I don't know not one African to be keeping a buck in Africa.
I don't like.
And when I mean, how do you go to your granny and say, Granny, we're African?
Huh?
Our grannies and grandpa, they have the look like a deer with headlights. Well, who told you that?
Hmm.
No, you're not African. I mean, our family, we traditionally watch the movie Roots. Like I tell everybody, we watched that. It was just two movies, African movies, and the Ten Commandments. It was two African movies and the Ten Commandments that our family traditionally watched. And that was Roots and what's the other one? Shaka Zulu.
Yeah.
And every year and the Ten Commandments. We watch those three movies traditionally in our home. But our grannies corrected, hey, whoa, you're not African. What are you crying for? Well, we cried because we see this black guy running through the woods in Africa, and these people are chasing him to put him in chains to bring him as a slave. So we cried, but we
Mhm.
had to be corrected to say, whoa, just so you're not African. That's a movie, and you're not African. And our grandmother corrected us,
Yeah.
and that was fine. But they went no further, and I wish they had. But my mother, and you have a lot of boomers alive. This is why I tell people to, if you don't have a relationship with your family, because we have so many sides, this is a time to rekindle and discuss these things. I will not go through a generation and not educate my grandsons. They know they're Indians.
Mhm.
Their school knows. And I think it's rather cute. It's like, oh, they're two little Indian boys. Because that's who they are. Just like in China, they have Indians. They fight with bows and arrows. They do movies on their history. And our history, our family might have been silenced, but they kept a lot of the traditions, like our old uncles. Everybody got an old uncle that ain't changing his clothes style. He gonna keep wearing that hat with the damn feather in it, going to
Mhm.
the club in his tight, or them old tight patent leather pants, or whatever kind of pants you call them. Remember them pants from back in the 70s? And if you
Yeah.
look, yeah, if you look back at old pictures of Bumpy Johnson, he wore furs. Indians wore furs. That's why we love fur coats so
Mhm.
much. Now, in the North, especially heavy, when you're in the northern states in the Midwest where it gets cold, we always sported fur coats and fur hats. That's what Indians did. We wore warm things.
And feathers and pearls and all kind of stuff.
Our uncles, honey, you couldn't tell them that when they got ready to go out the club in the 70s with that damn feather in a hat.
Mhm.
And they still wear them to church.
Mhm.
There's a reason why there was a feather in their hat in that old stupid song that we sung. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his head and called him macaroni. Yankee Doodle. They was talking about us and white people that joined in with the Indians. Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his head and called him macaroni. You got to understand, and those were things. And my grandma was little. We were just taught those songs.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
I have no shame in being
Hey,
Indian.
what is this character Bonita talking about?
Oh, my sister, he really thought he was going to get away with that case. I caught up with his real identity. I don't know. It caught up with his real identity. I don't know what she means when she says that.
Mm.
I know.
So, I mean, there's a lot to teach, and there's a lot for the newspaper, but a lot of our people, and especially the elderly, and I'm so grateful for our boomers and silent generations that are still alive because they love to read the our newspapers. They love to read it on Sunday because, and they're so helpful because they bring back things from when they were little. You know what an opportunity it is to be able to speak to people and our families and our neighbors who are alive that was born in the 1930s. They have a wealth of information.
Mhm.
They sure
Man,
did.
so much information. And when you sit down, the worst thing I'm telling you you can do is cut them off when they're talking. Get a recorder and record them. Don't cut them off. When you cut them off because they're older now and their memories, are not as sharp. Some of them do have sharp memories, but don't cut them off. Just listen to them.
Mhm.
They're going to
Don't let
tell you. But
and
our
don't let
daddies,
Don't let the opportunity pass you by before they leave this earth, and you do not sit down and have that conversation with them. I wish so many times that I had sat down with some of my ancestors and had a conversation.
Well, here's the beauty of it in our community. It doesn't have to be someone from your family that's not alive. This is the part where we come together as a community. It could be your next door neighbor's grandmother. They love talking. And you know somebody born in the 30s don't like you cutting them off. That's just rude and not heard of. You don't cut Big Mama off. You listen because she's
Mhm.
gonna tell you. And it don't have to be your grandma. Our community, we were a village. Everybody was auntie, uncle, or Mr. or Mrs. You did not address them by their first name. We still have our cultural ways. And, it doesn't hurt to go in nursing homes. There's people in their 90s and they might be and, have dementia or Alzheimer's. But guess what? Here's the very truthful thing about them. They're sharp. Their long term memory is sharp because they always go way back.
Mhm.
So if you're listening to someone who is in dementia and Alzheimer's, you can go and just listen to them. They have their long term memory is sharp, especially a lot of our men who are elderly too will tell you about the different wars. A veterans. I don't care what veteran you talk to. It don't matter what their race is. All veterans love to tell war stories.
Mhm.
And I love sitting there listening. That would be me sitting there listening. They love to tell war stories. You know why? Because so many people don't listen to them.
Mhm.
But their information is so important. You get a vet, I don't care what their damn race is. I talk to white vets, all veterans. I've sit and listened to them, and they're vets. Like I told you about the vet who had tunnel vision, but he was able to see that I was colored because in his time, that's what people of my skin color was. And he came up to me and said, "Are you colored?" Because he always had a story, so he wanted to give me a colored story. And they talk about the colored troops. They know. So when I say this, I say it for a reason because modern day people that are here to keep you from not understanding your history is always not going to be truthful. But those old veterans, I'm telling you, no matter what they're going to tell you the truth. Veterans have a story, and they will tell you that there were no Africans in the Revolutionary War. They were Indians,
Mhm.
and that's a fact.
Sure is.
So there's all this information is within our community. Just go around. I mean, you could plan. This is where Big Mama's skills come into play, and her Big Mama always organized something. You can organize a luncheon for the elderly people in your community and have them come out and eat sandwiches and soup. And you'd be surprised the stories that you're going to hear. They love to get out, but we stopped doing those things. Sometimes you're like, I'm going to get a couple of girls together and let's make some sandwiches and invite all the elderly people down in the recreation room and let's listen to their stories about our history. A lot of them come from the South and they remember those stories. A lot of you get a 90-year-old who will tell you these stories. They know, just like we know who our great grandmothers are. You don't think they know who their great grandmother are? A 90-year-old. They know who their great grandmas are, just like us.
Mhm.
And I could tell you, they don't know them as no Africans.
Mm-mm.
They're gonna tell you, oh, my great grandmother was Indian. She always wore those two long braids. We still keep these traditions, but we got to understand where our culture come from. Why do we
Mhm.
eat collard greens with neck bones in them? That's Indian food.
Oh,
Why do
that.
we eat these certain foods? Why is our Thanksgiving dishes the same across the 50 states? You if you eat pork and you're Indian, your Thanksgiving dinner is just literally the same. Collard
Mhm.
greens, macaroni and cheese, potato salad, sweet potato pie. Everybody got the same damn their menu.
I tell
Mhm.
you what, you can take
North and the South. I'm sorry.
you can take a bag of lima beans, right? And take them lima beans and throw them in front of every race out here, and have each one of them fix or prepare them lima beans. How much y'all want to bet they don't know how to prepare them lima beans?
Mhm.
I know how.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. I said them.
Who?
Any of them but us.
What do you mean?
Give every race a bag of them lima beans and have them prepare them. Guaranteed they don't know how to prepare them lima beans.
Oh, ho, 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 ho. I disagree.
I
You got to
don't.
remember, just like I do, because we have white folks in the South that make beans, and they make some killer damn beans with pork. There's white people here in the North that been here so long
They
and
learned
have
it from you.
gravitated to the
Mhm. Who
have
taught it
gravitated
to
to the northern style, and they
They
always say, boy, Bethy, what I would do for an old southern plate from when I was little, because they ate the same food we ate down south.
but you taught them
So
how to fix it.
well, maybe so, but they know how to make it.
I said, I ain't talking about, I'm not talking about these white folks. I'm talking about
I am.
anybody else. I'm not, because they was here with us. The other people
Right.
wasn't here with us.
Well, they make it a different way. They make beans, but they make it a different way. That's
Okay.
all. Like we put our, you know, pork or whatever we use to season it, but other races make beans. They just make them differently from us. That's all. Like when I was very interested when I seen how Chinese people make porridge compared to how we make it. Their porridge look like um oatmeal with a lot of water in it. It's different, but it's their porridge.
I saw that too.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Yep, you right. Greeks be cooking lima beans. I love me some lima. I love all kinds of beans.
Lima
I think
beans,
I love
red beans
every
and rice,
beans.
crowd of peas, you name it.
Mhm. Got me some on cooking right now.
That's just like having stew. I don't care what meat you put in there, that stew gonna taste the same.
That's facts. And we as a people, we still cook the same way.
I'll tell you
Like
something right now that's on
um
YouTube. They got on YouTube everybody, I don't know about everybody, but quite a few different peoples of the earth eating soul food for the first time.
Oh yeah, I seen. Yeah.
They going
really,
nuts.
really.
Yes, they
Mhm.
going nuts. They
Mhm.
ain't never tasted nothing like this.
Losing their
I
ever
did.
loving
You know
mind.
what? I did meet two guys. I think I want to say he's probably Irish. Our maintenance man here in the complex. You know, they come around and do the inspections in our
Uh-huh.
unit, and I was so amazed. And I thought he was overdoing it, but when he came, it was two men that came to do the inspection in my unit, and I was cooking. I was frying some whiting fish, and he goes fishing, and he said, "What are you making?" I said, "Oh, I'm deep frying my fish because we dip it in cornmeal and we deep fry it." So what I did was got some paper towels and gave each one of them one, and he was like, "Oh my goodness, how do you
Yeah,
do this?" I thought it was so
yeah.
cute. He loved
No,
it, and every time he comes over, he's like, "Did I make it for fish? Did I make it?" I said, "You missed fish the other day." He gets so upset. So I fried him some fish in a basket and gave it to him, and they were so cute. I swear they were just so humble, and I couldn't believe that they never had. He said, "Well, my family, man." He said, "I go fishing every year up in Maine and da da da." He said, "But we don't cook it like this." And I'm like, "Really?" I said, "Well, I like fish baked sometimes, but I'm not a huge fan of it." My neighbor makes salmon. She bakes it, and I think that's good. But I grew up on fried whitings and porgies, and I that day I happened to be frying some whitings, and I could not believe the way they were. I thought they were overreacting, and they looked like they wanted more that first day that they came here, and I gave it to them. I said, "Oh my goodness, this is so funny." I said, "I'll just go out and get some more fish for Willie to eat," but I couldn't believe it that they really liked it. And so one day, I saw them in the complex. I said, "Okay, they're here." So I fried a big basket of fish and put it in a little basket and just brought it to them. Honey, they tore that damn fish up.
yeah.
I was like, unbelievable. So yeah, he
Like,
said, "You need to open a damn restaurant. What is wrong with you?" I'm like, "Cause I don't want to be
oh,
cooking all day." My uncle told me that too. He said, "You need to open your own restaurant. I'm telling you, you're gonna make a killing on your beans." Cause I make soup, a lot of soup. And I make a lot of homemade chicken noodle soup because I love chicken noodle soup. And I make mine homemade.
well,
And sometimes I
Can you
dump,
make me some?
huh?
huh?
I said, can you make me some? I love chicken noodles, homemade
And then
chicken noodles.
ship it to you, and I'll ship it to you.
Yeah, just ship it
I
to
started putting my soup in, the Chinese tall plastic
Mm-hmm.
that they give you the wonton soup in.
Mm.
So I put mine in those now when I make them so that I won't take up space in the refrigerator with the big pot of soup. I put them in those. And all I have to do is throw them in the microwave and I eat my soup. But
Mm.
yeah, sometimes I throw dumplings in them. When I want to come back on starch, I won't throw dumplings in them.
Oh,
But
don't make something.
yeah, I love dumplings. I'm sorry.
Oh.
And I get the Chinese noodles when I make my chicken noodle soup. They have the flat noodles. It's really
Mm-hmm.
good. My niece is insane because my father's taught me how to make really good banana pudding. My niece lives
Oh.
in Delaware, okay? 4 hours away. She lives in Delaware. I live in Connecticut. Do you know her lazy butt will drive all the way down here to get a bowl of damn banana pudding? She's
Yeah.
in the chat now. She will drive from Delaware to Connecticut to get a bowl of my um banana pudding. And I listen to her. She's right in here. She would come up.
How much she
She
love
would.
that.
This woman will drive all the way from Delaware to Connecticut to get some damn banana pudding.
Sure
And my
will.
other
That
niece
means
lives.
that
Yeah,
means you
my
put a
other.
whole bunch of love and all kind of good
Yeah, I make banana pudding. It's the holiday time. Like I'll make banana pudding on Christmas. But
Different races have um eaten our soul food in the last few months,
mhm.
and they don't want nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
One, I hope he didn't do it what he said he was going to do. This young white boy got him some fried chicken, right? He ate that fried chicken. when he got through, he said he going home to slap his mama. I said, I hope he don't do that.
Oh, I seen that. I seen that. I
Oh
seen that.
my goodness.
I hope he didn't
Listen,
do it for real.
I hope he
when
did
my
that.
husband was alive, he would go to the bar and get drunk around the corner with a bunch of buddies after work. And he got drunk and gave. I said, if I was going to get killed, I could have been assassinated. He gave these two guys, they were white guys that he met in the club. He told them to come to his house, that his wife is going to make him some macaroni and cheese.
Mm-mm.
Uh-oh.
Well, his wife made some macaroni and cheese. So the next day, someone knocked on the door, and I did make macaroni and cheese that Sunday because I normally do it like every Sunday. So these two guys knocked at the door. He was like, "Hi, Ray told us to come over and get macaroni and cheese." And I'm looking, I'm like, "Huh?" So I called Ray downstairs. I said, Ray, there's some guys at the door. They said that you told them to come here to get some macaroni and cheese. He said, "The hell you talking about?" I'm like, I told him to whisper. I said, "They're downstairs." He was like, "What?" So he went downstairs and they say, "Hey, Ray." He don't even remember them, girl.
Wow.
God
Well,
dog.
I still made them the bowls. I said, "Well, here's the bowls." And then when they left, I said, "You idiot." I'm like, "You invited two guys." He was ripping drunk
Drunk gonna tell
and
the
hanging
truth.
out. I'm telling you, and don't even remember them. And I said, and they exchanged their numbers. They actually lived in New Hampshire. Okay. And I'm in Connecticut, but they stopped to come and get the macaroni and cheese. So I gave them a bowl of macaroni and cheese.
Y'all want to hear something real
That
funny and
man's a
odd?
damn fool.
Y'all want to hear something real funny and odd?
What?
There's a group of Arabs that have moved into Louisiana,
Louisiana.
and
Okay.
they were kind of skeptical about eating, soul food. Now get this. I'm gonna show you something that some people in this country been lying on them Arabs. This lady she prepared a barbecue rib dinner for these Arabs.
Mm-hmm.
Them Arabs tore that barbecue up
I know they did.
and they cleaned that damn plate off.
I don't, you know, here
So
in Connecticut. Oh, go ahead.
wait a
I'm
minute.
sorry.
So with the stigma that we've been hearing for years that Arabs don't eat no damn pork, I dare every one of y'all in the chat to tell me I'm lying and I can prove what I'm saying because it's on YouTube. Now I want to see how these clowns gonna talk now.
Well, here in the north, the more you go north, the more it's more diverse. So in the north, we grew up with many diverse
Hold
populations.
on, hold on.
It's called
Somebody in the chat, creative eight, whatever, creative mindset. You telling me I'm lying? I live right here in
Oh,
Dearborn.
don't answer, don't respond to the negative chat.
No,
Anyway,
I'm just saying I live right here where they at in Dearborn. Don't tell me what they don't eat.
that's okay, but
I'm in the capital where they at. Don't
it's
tell me what they
okay.
don't eat.
Oh, don't worry about the negative comments in the chat. That's quite fine. We got 612 people watching, so 612 people are very happy with today's segment. You can't let one chat person irritate you. It's them. It's their problem, not you.
You said a gas station. Is this idiot? Don't he know what East
So,
Dearborn, Michigan is?
yeah, don't you, Copper? Don't respond to him, okay? Anyway,
Yeah, let them be.
the more you are in north, and then when you're way out in the west, we are very accustomed to diverse populations. Like we have people from India, they don't treat me bad. They actually love conversating. I don't find the ugly stories that people say about the multiple races of people. People from China, people from
Exactly.
Hong Kong, people from Korea, Vietnam. We have great conversations with them here. And I have a ball with them, and I'm just sorry. I'm just multicultural that way. And I don't like nobody leading me to think on their negative thoughts of people. I
Well, the
don't.
only
I
reason
have
why I
my
said
own
that,
I have my own personal dealings with people, and I base them on the individual. You automatically can feel vibes from people that are uncomfortable with you. You
the
don't
only
have to
reason why I
even
said
think
that,
about it.
Sister Becky, the only reason why I said that, Sister Bethy, is because for years we've been getting that dumb stigma from a certain group of people in this country about certain other people. Now that these people who
Yeah.
live here, they live here with us. I
Well,
don't find nothing wrong with them people at all.
right.
All I found is that the people that are here that claim to be of that particular um people been lying on them people. They need to just speak their own truth for themselves. But they should never speak on these people because, like I said, I live here right here in Michigan, right here, not 10 minutes from Dearborn. That's the
Mm-hmm.
capital of in America is Dearborn, Michigan, up for the
Dearborn,
Arabs.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Mm.
I used to be in Dearborn all the time when I lived in Michigan.
Yeah, I don't have those issues down here, but I do know that the what really hurt our community is
Beverly
the
said they Indians.
I
Stop it.
I did I do know that a lot of our beliefs come from our grannies and great grannies that were born in the 1930s. What we're talking about, older boomers, and then the generation before them. They impose their experiences on our people. But the great thing about that, it's totally breaking away now, because the way Generation Z, which is the generation after the millennials, see the world is differently than someone who was born in the 1930s. So you have Generation Z that don't relate with a boomer generation. And it doesn't matter what race the child is, whether the child is white, black, Latino, Indian, from India, China. The Generation Z, which is the generation after the millennials, they see the world very different. So this is why they don't relate with people that are from Generation Z, the boomer generation. They don't relate with them mind wise, and they can't understand them, and they never will, which is good, because if they don't, they're going to be stuck like a lot of our people were within their mindsets. So the Generation Z is really the generation that broke that yoke off of our people. So going forward, we're good. They do understand that they're Indians, but they see how to handle it in a different manner, in which someone from a boomer generation like Copper Aborigines handles things. Just like with me, I didn't experience what my mother experienced, who is an older boomer. They come from a generation where in the South, they experience seeing those signs up, whites only, we only serve blacks, and colors not allowed, and don't feed the Indians liquor, sell the Indians liquor. They experienced that life in the Alabama water hose. That wasn't my generation. So they have a different outlook on how they feel about the government and any political figure, whereas we have a different one. We're now more vocal, and Generation Z is changing, has changed on how we deal with the federal government. They're more book smart now,
Facts.
and they are really wise. and you can't cross over them. But that's the same for white kids, black kids. White kids don't relate with their boomer grannies. They're like so ready to go and go on with their life because they like, I gotta go. And their attitudes are different. You're not going to tell Gen Z who they're going to date. This is not a communist country. And you're not, I don't care what the race of the kid is in Gen Z here in America. We're not a communist country and we're not a third world country. So you're not going to impose communism and third world lifestyle on a Generation Z kid. Well, they're adults now because they're going to date who they want. They're going to marry who they want. And they don't care if great grandma and great grandpa don't like their black girlfriend or their white girlfriend or their white boyfriend. They don't give a damn. They're like,
Nope.
look, Granny,
No, don't.
your attitude is, look, Granny, you ain't got to bring your ass to the wedding. I didn't invite you anyway.
Ooh.
That's their attitude. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Gen
yeah.
Z, it's changed.
They'll
Man.
tell you. They will tell you what's on their mind in a New York second.
Our boomer generation, which is my mom, have a lot. We suffered their disdain. So it takes someone like myself who are in between a millennial and a boomer. I'm in between them because I came from the generation where you got your ass whooped if you talk back to granny or mommy.
Sure did.
Millennials broke that. They was like, oh, millennials. I love millennials, and I tell you that all the time. I think that millennial is probably one of the most specialist generations because I like their mindset. Millennial women and men are very different from Gen X, and we're not that far apart, but they're very different. Millennial women taught Generation X women stop crying. They're millennials are funny. They're hilarious. No matter what race, they're fun. They're hilarious as hell. Millennial women be like, oh, hold up. I know you're not crying over this guy. My, he ugly. Why are you crying over him? That's millennial. And whereas in Gen X, we boo-hooed if Pookie wasn't gonna come over or call or return our text call. We sit in the house sad. Millennials, they be like, ma, for real, he ugly. I don't even know why you like him. Find somebody else. That's millennial.
Hey, be active. That's not true. The language that was always spoken here was called Americanese. Long before it was called English. It was called Americanese, not Spanish.
But anyway, I love to study the generations, but Gen Z is even worse. And guys, we're having this conversation about the Generation Z that's on the streets and the Generation Z that's in the books. They are scary. The ones that are on the streets. They are, I thought in my era, when I hung out in the clubs, you know, I still can, but I just don't. I've not been out in a club since I was like, I want to say 35. I don't do clubs. But I thought the 90s, I hated the 90s, was horrific. Gen Z, Gen Z Pookie is worse. They're born this way. They're worse than a Big Meech. Gen Z is the generation that will bring you somewhere and chop you up. They're scary. They're scary.
Yeah.
You can't run up on Gen Z. You can't. And a lot of these Gen X dudes are coming out of prison thinking they're coming back to their same spots on the block, and Gen Z standing out. They don't know you. They will pop you. They're scary. So I study a lot of different. We want to change their mindset and their thoughts, and it's working because when you see a lot of these um AI generated TikToks about our history, a lot of that is millennials and Generation Z popping up our history. But for the most part, Gen Z are flowing. The educated Gen Z, the book smart one, they're the ones taking over with our history. So it makes me feel proud because they are aware, but they have a modern way to do it. Like me, that's that auntie, you sitting up there typing that newspaper and stuff, and just do this. They're just
They
phenomenal.
quick with it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They're very quick with it.
Just like my niece, she's a millennial. And she said, Auntie, I could get on your panel and be you, and it don't even be you. And I'm like, what? She's scared to
That's
crap out. I don't like talking to my niece because she scares me. She's a computer girl. And that's her, her life, computer, what do you call it? Troubleshooting. She's the person you call, say like you're calling Comcast and you want to troubleshoot, and that's her. I will never give her my password. But yeah,
Mm.
she's computer. That's our little computer geek. And that's what she does for a living. This little brainy art right here. I love my niece. She's very intelligent. It's my sister's daughter, the oldest. She's so smart. Her intelligent. And she's good. I have to call her sometimes about computer stuff and what people can do to your system and hacking and shit like that. But we're coming along, you guys. And this, like I said, today's segment will be the March newspaper. And I want everybody to read that Dred Scott case and analyze it. What's missing for a piece of, like, you're like, well, wait a minute, what's his lawyer's fight? I mean, is he even going to ask for document a bill of sale of his, things like that was just like totally left out. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
he ain't none of that stuff. Least of all in that
yeah,
case, not the Supreme Court case.
yeah.
When he could have.
But the judge was right, though, Copper. They weren't citizens. They were
No, they
citizens
weren't.
of their state, but not United States citizens with birthright protections.
Yeah, because he said he could never be a citizen of the United States. That's what Judge Taney wrote in his
Yeah.
shucks. What was that in his summary?
Yeah. And that was before the birthright citizenship even existed.
Yep.
Because it didn't come available until the 13th and 14th Amendment. So I'm like,
Well, the
whoa.
birthright citizenship didn't come about till 1865, 1866, something like that.
And he just missed it because his case was in the 1850s.
Yep.
So I thought that was really interesting.
And the birthright citizenship falls up under what was called, when I was going to school, because it wasn't called birthright citizenship. It fell up under what is called the grandfather clause. And I don't know if y'all understand.
Yeah, I remember the grandfather clause.
The grandfather clause lasted 100 years, which meant even though the war was over of 1865, if you notice, we didn't get our second civil rights till 64, sorry.
Right.
And the voting rights in 1965.
Right. That's right.
And that was 100 years of the grandfather
I
clause.
wasn't born in neither one of those years.
And that's when a lot of stuff changed, as far as the laws are concerned. It changed then, but it didn't pick up or take off until somewhere in the 1990s, late 1990s, early 2000s from the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Can you explain what the grandfather clause is?
It meant that your grandfather or grandmother was slaves.
Oh.
You still fell up under that, according to that grandfather clause, until 1965. Anybody born after 1965 does not fall up under um that grandfather clause. They are born free. Anyone born after 1965 are actually the birthright citizens.
1965. Okay.
1965. That's right.
Born after 1965.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
all of the Indians were enslaved and they still were. And that's what the whole story that I was trying to give you, that in 1830 it was nobody over here but white Europeans and us.
And us,
There
that's
was no
all that
other
was here.
race. So the Indians, as Indians, we were enslaved. That's why you have freedmen is not an identity, it's a status of life. The freed men, these are men that were freed. And they were Indians, but just because they were freedmen don't mean they were Africans. That's why I said you gotta look back. What were they freed from? Because the Indians were enslaved and they
Beverly
did
is
not
right.
become
No, Beverly.
citizens.
Wait a minute. Listen to what Beverly wrote in the chat. Because she's saying something correct. I ain't saying she ain't been saying something correct.
And
But
we
that
can
right
do
there,
that too, Beverly.
it used to be done because on my driver's license, it was like that when I first got mine back in the
You
mid
you
70s.
you can do that. It's up to you. You have to do it now. You have to make the correction. Nobody's obligated to fix what happened to you but you, the individual. So you have to fix it. You have to correct it. Yep. But you guys, we've been going for 2.5 hours. Bap is supposed to be going live. I don't want to get off so he can go live. I don't know who's gonna go live after, but this was really a great segment. I enjoyed you guys' input. Original ending. You know, I love you, girl. I love the company on the panel. It helps me a lot.
Love you too.
Copper, love you too, brother. You
Thank you.
bring a lot of information. So I don't know what I did back here. Why my media assets? Why it won't scroll up? I don't know why this won't work right or what I did. I must have pushed the wrong button. I don't
You'll
know,
figure
but
it out.
I'll have to find it. I don't know where it is. I don't know why it won't scroll up. I don't know what I did back here.
Because you
But
wanted to.
anyway, yeah, anyway, I'm going to get on out of here. You guys hit the like button. Love y'all. And I am out. See you guys tomorrow.
All right, y'all
All
take it
righty.
easy. Later.
Everybody, have a good evening. Be safe. And let's try to make it tomorrow.
That's right. Later.
Later.